considerations we need to make. We'll be discussing that. So, sorry, does anyone have anything?
I have a question about this. Bin IO, we have to download and use it, right?
No, it's already there. So it's already implemented. I'll go through it. So there are like I'll just go through it. Then you can actually ask your questions. I'm starting from the beginning. So the idea of this project, this new service is how can we make a new customer onboarding configurable. So instead of take a file, instead of take a customer file and see how it is, and then writing a code inside the service, what we have done is instead of writing the code, we are going to take the customer file and we're gonna see how it is actually structured. Based on that, we're gonna write an XML which talks about how the input file should be read and how the output should be generated. So that will be there in the XML, and maintained in a separate repository. So that you can see here, config configurations as a Git repository, and the service as such, new conversion service as such, will be there in the separate repository. And this service will contains only the logic to process the input file. So how it's going to process is it's going to read the XML provided by the repo, that is conversion configuration XML provided by this repo, and it looks into that XML and then starts reading the input customer file. So uh, all the XMLs what we have written for our customers will be pushed in a separate pipeline, will be pushed to a blob storage area. In the shared blob storage area, we're gonna push that. If we have 200 customer files, all the 200 customers will have a separate XMLs, and it will be pushed into the separate shared blob storage area. So, and when the service starts running, this service will go periodically. Every 5 minutes it goes and it pulls all the XMLs into the in memory, yeah, into the memory of the new conversion service. And whenever there is a request for conversion from the UI, then it's the file will be taken. Say for example, the file can be a do1. The corresponding XML mapping XML will be pulled from the blob storage area, and it's going to read according to the XML definition. So, and it's gonna convert the respective file into a standard CSV format, and it will once it is converted into standard CSV format, it will store in the private blob storage and encrypted format. That is actually today also we are storing that in a private blob area. So we'll be using the same one. So that way, what will happen is, if you want to make any changes to the service, you make changes and deploy. And if you want to make any changes to the XMLs or configurations, you need to do a change separately, and you can deploy it whenever you want. So these two are not tightly coupled, and they will be deployed independently and maintained independently. So that way you getting flexibility to do the change at any time. And also it is onboarding or maintenance, onboarding new customer or maintaining a existing customer. If there is a problem, then it will be much more easier. So if you are going to onboard any new customer, you just come here, write an XML for it, and then which talks about the how to read how to read a file and how to write a file, and then you commit it, and then exit. There's a separate pipeline. Just push the pipeline. It will go to the respective environment. So it will be much more easier. You don't need to wait for the service to be tested. This service can operate independently. Only if there is a logic change or there is a bug inside the Java code, then we can actually look into it and work on the fix and deployment on the new conversion service. So I'll stop here. Any questions on this new architecture? One more thing is there is a separate repository also maintained for tests. It contains component testing. So this is of much developmental concentration. It is nothing to do with the deployment basically. So while developing, after the development, in order to make sure that your code what you have written is proper, you will have to write a test cases here, and it will be run whenever the pipeline runs, whenever the build runs, not the pipeline. Whenever the build runs, this also runs. So other than that, it doesn't it doesn't have any significance in the deployment as such. Yeah, Kim, you're saying something. Okay, if no questions, I'll move to the next. Now we are what your team is gonna do is actually the mapping of or configuring XMLs, and which talks about how the customer file is structured, what are the input data we need to read, and how to generate an output. So for that, we we have to understand the XML. So how we can configure it. So let me just go here and tell you how does it looks like. This is the repo I'm talking about, configurations hyphen conversions hyphen configurations. What it contains? It contains, don't worry about this naming convention. This is actually going to change. Generally, the naming. What it contains is an XML. This is an XML, what you see. Okay. These are the XMLs like we have for Duhan, we have for LA regional. These are also different customers. We have to rename this. But, and XML files, set of XMLs, an XML files for different customers files, and then then you have a JSON file which will have an entry which talks about what are the configurations supported, means what are the customers files supported at present in the environment or in the production. Okay, just a moment. Okay, so this JSON initially, if we have to enable any customer, then there should be an entry. So as you see, there are two entries, means two customers are enabled as of now. Two customers. One is Duhan, and file type is actually payment. So this is a standard type. It is gonna follow for all the customers. So in this JSON, what you have is version attribute and a configurations attribute. Inside the configuration attributes, it's an array where you will define what are the configurations available. So ID talks about the name of the customer, Duhan, and inside it you have the configurations against an array because you can have a supplier and payment as well. So that's why it's an array. So here we have done for payment. So this inside this array, the file ID talks about name of the file. So name of the file is, if you see here, the name of the file, the XML file, do on payment, and file schema is DSL. So this is called domain schema language, which we are actually calling out. So it has to be DSL. The file schema is always actually DSL. Uh, the XML itself is called domain schema language, DSL. Okay, and it will be same for all the files. So file schema is DSL. File type is what type of file it is. It's a payment. In case of supplier, you just mention it as a supplier. And if the customer has payment and supplier, right? So you can have a here in the array you can have one more block by separating comma. You can have one more block and write write the name of the file and mention it as supplier. Maybe Duhan, sorry, maybe Duhan supplier, and here file name is supplier. File type is supplier. So something like that you can have. So we each customer can have in a block like this. If you have any customer to be active, any customer file to be active in the new conversion service, it is necessary to have an entry here. If you have written an XML, some XML ABCD, say for example, this one is also an XML. If you have written an XML and you have not made an entry here, then it will not, the service will not pick it up. Still it is inactive only. Okay, so other than this, actually, while going through this, I have also prepared the documentation. What I am explaining, I have prepared the documentation. I'll share it, so that will be an handy for you to understand or get a better idea if you have a doubt. Um, and if still have a doubt, you can definitely reach out to us. Okay, so that way it'll be easier for you to go back and check if you get any doubt. Okay, so any question in the supported JSON supported configuration.json?
I want to confirm about the IDs. It means conversion name, right?
ID is nothing but, yeah, the conversion name, or the conversion name is the name, what do you say? The URL at the URL end you will have, right, slash Dohan slash LA regional or slash Butler National. That is the one I'm talking about.
Okay.
Here it is. Just a minute. Let me just. Just a second. I'll just show you so that it will be clear that we are on the same page. Okay. So I'm talking about, so if you just slash payments processing, right, this is the one.
Yeah. Okay.
Talking about this is the one. Okay. Supplier also I'm talking about this one. Yep. Whatever the URI you are specified, the name of the URI conversion name as such. Okay. So yeah.
Yeah. I just you will go through the DL DSL file, right? Now you just
Yes.
introduce about the config.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll
Okay.
we'll go to the next.
I
So
have.
this this file, I'm sorry. Yep. Yeah, Kim.
Yeah, because I just want to ask you about how you generate the don't dash payment file XML schema. How you can generate this schema from the input file? Example,
Um,
don't payment.
See, it's not generating the. We
We
have
have.
to. Yeah, we have to actually write. We have to write, and in order to write, that is the next section. How can we actually write? Okay, so that's I'm gonna talk about that. So here, if you come back to here while writing that an XML, what we need to understand is these are all bean IO. This is actually an implementation which talks about how we have implemented the service. This is actually a library. This is of not importance. Only the developer, if it's a development effort on the Java side, we could have gone
Uh,
through that. But this is the library which is responsible for reading the XML what we create and convert the input file, the
oh,
given input file. So this is actually comes into the Java service end. So we will skip this for now. We will concentrate about this DSL because this is where actually we need to work on. Uh,
oh,
so the when we say DSL, okay, it is actually it's called a domain specific language, which is written in an XML that we have defined it. You can define whatever the DSL format you want to, okay, and broadly the input files comes from the customer has been classified into CSV file,
oh,
delimited file,
oh,
and Excel file, and text
oh,
files. So these are actually broadly classified. So considering this, these are all the file types, and inside the file, how the data is structured based on that classifications we has been after analyzing, we have classified this into four. One is single line, fixed, structured, and flattened. Okay,
mm,
so what is this is single line is nothing but it's mostly, and you might be you are dealing with files even and then, meaning every time. So you will be knowing that the supplier file, right? The supplier file generally will have a single line of data, meaning all the data, each supplier data will be there in a single line. It will not go to the line number two, right?
mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is actually a single line. Any data uh, which ends in a single line is a single line format.
Oh,
Okay, and
yeah.
the fixed one is nothing but .txt files which are having fixed length of fields, fixed length of fields. Uh, so the one which is in the left, you can see that there's like most formatly mm, the all the data, the txt file in the txt file, every data is actually is mentioned in a fixed line. Those are comes as a fixed format files. Okay, these are all we are trying to understand because um, this will give an idea when we are mapping, when we are doing a mapping exercise. Okay.
Yeah.
So next one is structured. What is structured? The structured is actually if you see the data for a single record is split across different lines. So if you see here, there is a header and there is a detail, and in the header and detail, the the data will be, if you have a multiple payments and or a multiple invoice generated, then you will see this kind of format.
Mm-hmm.
Complete payment record with a single header and a uh, multiple rows and n invoices. N in the sense multiple invoices. If you have multiple invoices, then it's going to appear like this header record and there's a detail record. So if you see here, each invoice is different. It's not same. So this is another type of file which is observed in the current customer files. This is one format is called structured. Okay. So the next one would be flattened. Flattened is nothing but it's kind of a same data, not same data. The data is actually split into multiple lines, or a payment will be split into multiple lines. These are all actually for a payments. So if you see here, the payments, you will have, if you see the repeated data which applies to a payment. See, if you see here, same data, vendor name, address, date, and even where it is, even invoice is also same. Okay. And only the payment amount is differing, meaning the payment information, instead of single line, it's been split into multiple lines. So how they have, some of the customers are generating the invoices like this. So this is another format, which is actually we call it as flattened. So pretty much, the fixed, structured, and the flattened is mostly it's part of payment. I don't say supplier, but commonly suppliers is always single line. There are chances that there also comes structured, but I don't know. But most of the cases, the fixed format, structured, flattened format is part of a payment file. So,
Yeah. Okay.
okay. So this is actually this is what we have analyzed and come up with the data format, how the files are currently structured. So based on that, we have grouped them into these four buckets. Okay. So this, okay, once again, if you go through it, you will be able to understand this. This understanding is required to identified when you receive a file, when you see a file, you to see whether it is a structured one, whether it's a flattened, or whether it is a single line. You have to identify that first. I think 1 minute, I'm getting ping. Just a second, hold on. Okay. Um, let's actually come back. Sorry. Um, okay. So, any questions here?
Check.
I just want to confirm the after recognize the structure from customer file, and then we need to generate a schema. It's XML schema, right? And it how 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 can we generate from the input file with one of structure of the XL? How
Yeah,
can we
I'm
generate from
coming.
the input
I'm coming
file
to that.
to
I'm
yeah
coming to that. So I just gave an overview of how we have separated the
yeah
file. So once
okay
consider that once we know the file. So we know the file. What is the
yeah
structure of it? So if you go to the, let's take an example of Duhan. Okay, Duhan payment. So what you need to, this is actually, so we know the Duhan is a CSV file. The incoming is a CSV file. And what is the data format? It is structured, meaning it is structured means Duhan contains, it falls under this bucket, meaning it has a header record and
yeah
it has a detail record and it has a different invoices as well
okay
for each detail. So it falls under structured. So, and you're going to mention it as a structured. And the file type is a payment. If it's a
mm-hmm.
supplier, you're going to mention supplier. So this particular under the schema, every XML is going to should start with this tag, the starting of the header of the XML, which is common, which talks about version, and then all the things you're going to write it within the within all the tags you're going to write within the schema. It should start with schema and end with schema. Under the schema, you have a first tag you will have is config. For everything, you will have a first tag is a config. And under this config, you will have these three tags: file format, data format, file type. File format talks about what is the format of the file: CSV, XLS, or TXT. Data format, it talks about structured, flattened, a single, this kind of a thing. And file type talks about whether it's a payment or a supplier. Okay. So this is actually a config section, which just talks about what is the type of the file, how it is structured. And if you see here, another one, LA regional. So this is also, it's a CSV, but the data format is single line. Okay. And file type is supplier. Only three tags are there. It's the same thing. And one more, I think, if I'm so here, see here, the file format is XLS and it's flattened, and file format is payment. We want to change that. I think, Abhiram, we may have to change this according to the name of the file, Abhiram. Did you get a chance to do it? If not, then we'll have to do it.
Regarding the file format, you are saying, Madhu.
File names, basically XML file names.
Okay, so in the new repo, all the new files that we have, now we are giving the names as per the customer. So whichever the customer name, then we are utilizing their name and then dash, then the payments or the suppliers.
Yes, same way. These are actually existing ones, right? Created by
Yeah,
EA.
so we
We
are
will
doing
apply
that.
it
So
to
we are
this one.
doing that. Yeah, we are doing
Okay,
that.
then it's fine. So,
Yeah, in a recent repo, I mean the updated one, it's already pushed, Madhu.
okay, okay. So, okay. And next, once this is done, this is common for all the files. Okay. Next, the another next one, next tag is an input. This talks about how are we going to read the input. This talks about input here. You gonna to see what is the line you need to visit, and what is the column you're gonna check, and what is the name of the column you will be interested into in order to pick the data. Okay, so the whole input. talks about reading the customer file. Okay, so here will come to the individual tags. Okay, and then output will talk about what is the output which will be generated by the service after reading the customer file. So that actually structure is mentioned in the output. The output pretty much is standard because it's not going to change, right? So whether yours is a text to XLS or CSV, the output should remains same. The structure of the output remains the same for each file. So it will remains the standard, but we will go through it. Or what are the tags are mentioned in the output. Um, Probably from here, Abhiram, can you take it up?
Sure, Madhu. Sure.
Yeah, Abhiram is going to explain the individual individual tags. Maybe Abhiram, we will start with the CSV one, which is easier, and then we will go to the XLS, and then probably if we get a time, we will do it XLS also. Otherwise, XLS and TXT we can cover it in the next session as well. Okay.
Sure, Madhu. So that was my idea also.
Mhm.
Yeah. So let me share my screen.
Yep.
Let me know once it's visible. So is my screen visible?
From this, yes.
Okay. So this is so I will start with the easy one first. So we have a customer Anaconda, and for this particular customer, there is the sample file. I will open the sample file also. So apologies, like I will be switching between screens. So just to showcase the different files that we have. So this is the file that we have for Anaconda. As per the mapping file, it is already given that which places will be holding which sort of data. So vendor ID will be this one, then the address one, address two, city, then state, pin code, phone number. So in this way, the mapping is already given. So now how we are interpret checking and giving that XML that particular information is utilizing these tags. So this we will start with a schema. So just to give like idea, bean.io is a Java library which is used just to parse the data or like input digest the data from any type of file, from any type of file to a CSV file, and then you can play with that particular file in any way that you want. So for that we need to create a XML file to give bean.io so that it can just apply that as a mapping file and then read the data, anything that we give. So that's the whole idea that bean.io is doing. So it simply tells that you need to provide me a schema. The schema, everything under the schema is custom defined. So everything under the schema we have defined with the help of the EA team, that how what sort of fields we want. So this is the config tag that is telling the all sorts of information, whether this file is a supplier, single line, and the CSV. And this will be giving us an idea why single line, because we have all the records in a single line itself. If there was a scenario, then there can could have been multiple like let's say 6881 in the similar manner payments can have. So if I have this one, and again I am utilizing this with the address name change and the vendor ID is same, so this could have been a like this it could not be a part of the single line category, but this is not the case in this one. So this is the simplest file that we have that was done. And so we are just saying that vendor, this is the supplier ID, the address 1, address 2. So now what we are doing is first line. So we are just saying read the first line. In the first line you have the first field that will be supplier ID. So I will just open that particular file in the side. So this one, the supplier ID. So we are just saying that this one is the supplier ID. Then this is the supplier name. So we are just after that particular whole, because this will be a CSV file. So we are saying bin.io that it is a CSV file. So when you find a comma, then it automatically means that it's a new field, or if there is a slash n, then it's a new line. So that thing is getting taken care by bin.io itself. So we don't need to worry about that. We are just saying that first field supplier ID, okay, second field supplier name, then third field address 1. So we are giving address 1, address 2. Then there can be some customers, for them address 3 will be also there. So we could write, if the address 3 is provided, we can write this one, and we can just change this with address 3. So if there is address 3 here, it will be automatically mapped to address 3. But in this case, for this particular customer, we don't have address 3. So we can just revert those things, and we are good to go. Now, in the similar manner, we are just saying state, then the postal code and the phone number. So this tag, input tag, is just saying that we are providing you the input in this manner. Now we are also giving you an output tag, and you need to map the data which you got through the input file in this order, the output order. So any questions till now?
This we need to map same order between input and output, right?
Correct. So we need to write the input also and the output also. The answer is like input files, input tags, and all the fields inside this might change from customer to customer, but
Okay.
the output tag will be
Okay.
mostly the same, because
Okay.
it's a 1AP platform, and the output every time will be a CSV file. So mostly it will be the same files that will be there. Same
Okay.
output tags with the header and the address record or the supplier record.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That
Any
you
other
can
question?
actually, the output you can actually copy paste. You don't need to do much investigation over there. Output you can say, for example, you're doing supplier and a single line supplier CSV file for some other customer. The output is same. You can actually copy paste as it is. But input definitely changes because as you know that the supplier name here it's coming in the second position, but the same supplier name in another customer it may come in the fourth position in the same row, something like that, right? So for that purpose we have to we have to see the input customer file, and accordingly we may have to structure or write the tag names in the input in under the input tag. And remember that we we are only considering only mandatory input variables. Whatever is optional, with those optionals, we don't need to worry about optional attributes. If it is there, we can include it. Otherwise, we don't need to. So for that, I think there is a file format which talks about there is a
I
document
will.
which talks about what is mandatory and what is not mandatory. That is also we will share. Maybe you might have already, but we will share that. That is a pretty much old document. prepared by Alex.
Okay. Could you show more example about a flattens type
Yeah,
of
of
Yeah,
course.
project?
we
That
will.
will fine.
As
We will.
I mentioned earlier, as I mentioned, so we will go through it, Kim. So we will actually go. We will have. We don't want to dump you everything in a one call. We just want to give some time for you to the team to understand. This is we shown you CSV, right? We will also show you the flattened structure and the structured as well. We will gonna show you, and Excel is also we're gonna show you. The XML structure for those will be different little bit in terms of tag definitions. There are certain tags which are going to change for flattened and structured and TXT.
So, uh, this is the CSV part is the most easy part that we can understand and easily write the XMLs, the DSS that are there. The only thing that we need to take care is of how the namings are there. So how the mapping has been done for the data, the input data that we have. So the headers, the output. Let me tell you the output side, and then I can show you one different file for the CSV itself and how this CSV file, this XML and the other XML will be different. So just give me 5 minutes and I will show you. So the output, yeah, the output file that we have, it is just showing that uh, this the first line, there is like two headers that are there. So there will be a header which will be having records that is denoting a supplier record, then the supplier name and the supplier ID. And then there will be one more header that will be showing that the second line will be a address record with the address name, supplier IDs, address 1, address 2. It's like the same that we have in the old conversion service that we have. So it would be the same. The difference then comes that we are now writing the address record. So this tag we are using to write the address record. Now we are just utilizing the name that we provided earlier. So if you see supplier ID,
The output, Bira, for this
yes, I
output,
will just,
you
yeah, I
can
will.
put it side by side. It will be easier for them to realize.
Yep, just a second. Uh, Apologies, let me open that in the. Just a second, please. Files section. I'll open that. So now we have I opened all the three files. This is the input file. This is the side in the sideway, this particular side of the screen. It is having some less number of records. Apologies for that. I was doing some debugging, so I removed some of the data. This is the output file that we have. So in this output file, we have all the supplier name, supplier ID, address name. So in this manner, this I was talking about the output that we had, the SR name and the supplier ID, then the AR address name, supplier ID, and this is the same thing that we had through. If you see the header that we had, the first header and the second header. So the SR is the first header, SR, the name, supplier name. So this name we are taking this name we have mapped inside the Java service, and then it will be coming as name. The supplier ID we are just giving this as a key. This supplier ID is nothing but the same value it will be picking what we have given as in the mapping in the input section. Now, in similar order, we are just saying that the next will be a header of the address to record, address name. This is something that we are already given in the mapping file. So there can be a scenario where you can find in the output section there is an address name, and you cannot find address name anywhere here in the input section. So that thing is already taken care at the Java service. So we have taken care of all these. If some of the fields are not present in the input section that are there in the output section, we are taking care of all those things. So that thing we need not to worry. If there is certain things, we can debug and we can make the necessary changes. So that thing is like on that side we are good. So we are just saying that the next was header. So we are just saying that yeah, this is the header. After this, what we are doing is there is an address record. So this is, if you see, there is a SR vendor 1 and 6812. So this is the supplier record that we have. So you can just place the naming up and down, whichever you like. So the first we are saying that the SR, that's the supplier record, then the supplier name and the supplier ID. This supplier name and supplier ID, if you see, it was already present in the input section, supplier ID and the supplier name.
Okay.
So that is getting mapped and the value will be dumped. In the similar order, when we talk about this, so we are done with the supplier record. Now we just need to change with we need to manage the address record. So for address record, we have a AR and the address name. These are the literal. So whatever field or whatever text you provide. So if I give, uh, let's say address record here, it will put this thing itself in this place. So whatever the letters that we are providing in this tag, it will be getting printed here. So that's the tag. That's the when we are doing the parsing of this XML, we are just taking the data in that order. So I will just revert this thing, and here also I will revert. So this is the only if we want to just give a predefined data, predefined text, then we can use this tag identifier, then the literal, whatever we want. Now for address name, there was nothing mapping, so we will be taking care in the Java. Supplier ID, already we had supplier ID, so we will just map that. So here was the supplier ID. I will just minimize the header sections because that will be creating a problem while seeing. Then there is address one, address two. So if you see here, there was address one, address two here. Then there was a city, state, province, postal code. So there is a city, state, province, postal code, phone number. Now you can have a question in your mind that why we have given country and then again a literal as a US. So it is just saying that if there is a country, you will be printing a country because that is necessary inside this one. After postal code, we need to write the country. So for certain customers, there can be a country which has USA, and there are some customers for which they just want US. So in order to give this flexibility, we had this whole literal thing in the DSL file itself and not in the Java file. In Java file, we could only have managed a US or a USA, and that would have create so many problems because for every customer we need to write if and else logic and then we need to map. So for that thing, we took all the flexibility in the DSL, and we made these changes. So if a customer, let's say, Bio Alliance Holdings wants USA, or some other country just wants United States, they want to write this one, they can write anything. So we are at the at flexibility in this side. So this is just for that. Then there is a phone number, and then this is default payment address. Now is default payment address is nothing but whether this is a permanent main address or a postal address or a work address, in that order we are just giving that. So here if you see, there is every time we are having a main record. As of now, the customers that we have implemented, there are no secondary address records that are there. So this is the output that we have. So now if you see here, this is the last one that you are getting. In every file there, in every record there is a one, and this one is nothing but this is default payment address. So is this the address, that is the default address where we will be sending everything. So we are just inputting one, that is the true. So if there is a if there is a tag and yeah, go on. Yeah, please continue.
No, you continue. Just say, I got it.
Okay, so this and let's say you wanted some customer, let's say after some time we get a customer which wants that this default payment address, they want to write something as a string. So just we need to use this and just write anything, let's say secondary. So we want this as a secondary, so we can just everything will be like overridden with this particular value. Whatever the value that we have will be overridden with this. So this is the flexibility that we have with the XML file. Every time we don't need to change and go there in the Java code, and we have kept Java code in whatever as a generic. Only the changes will be done in the XML file, and once this XML file is created, we will just push this to the repo, configuration repo, and then it will just fetch the details, whichever file, whichever records we want to give. It will fetch those things and just do the necessary file conversion, and we will be getting a new CSV file for the new customer that we have. Any questions? I will be happy to answer any questions in this one, because this is the simplest file that we have.
Sometimes we got a phone number with space or dash, so we don't need to care about that format. We just put data. We just mark like this and don't care about the format of phone number.
Yes, very good point. Thanks for asking that. So phone number, let's say there are some customer for which there are like phone number extensions and everything that are provided. Let's say some customer wants to give the phone number extension here. So what we will do that, uh, let's say this one we have taken care, and we are just giving this name. Now, there can be some customer which are giving random data. So in the file that I already showed you, there was a customer which provided the data of phone number in this manner. There was a extension 000, and there was one more formatter that with the extension 1234. Anaconda told that in the mapping file that we don't need anything after like a 10-digit number is the only thing that we want. If there is a phone number that is starting from 1, so let's say there is a phone number which is having +41, let's say. So as per them, we will not be taking, we will, all the formattings will be done in the Java code, every formatting. So these things, the this brackets and this extension 000, this will be trimmed out. That will be done in the Java service and not on the XML file. So that thing is taken care of. We don't need to worry about that. The postal code formatting is also has been taken care. Like if it is a more than 10 digits, then we need to trim those things. If there is a less than 5 or 2 digits, then we need to add certain things. So whatever the specifications as per the 1AP format, we have done that, and we have kept that in a default, like a formatter, postal code formatter, or a phone number formatter, or an address formatter. So we have utilized that.
So here, what he means to say is we don't need to do anything while mapping it. You just have to, mention what field you are trying to, map it. That's it. And moreover, if you are writing any new XML, and if you think, for example, it's a CSV file and it is a single line, any supply, you can direct copy the existing one and take it as a base, and then you can change the name and the field names according to the way the particular file is structured. So you don't need to write from the scratch. So you can actually do that way also. So we have identified the overall type as we identified, like for CSV, for XLS, for .txt, we have the XML formats. It's already defined, and sample has been also included and tested. You have to take those by identifying what type of file is this, and then on top of it, you may have to modify those files once you copy it. Okay, we will go through it. I think we are top of the hour. We will go through those files as well. I was just actually telling you that we how to get started. Okay, so at high level, this once you write the file, you just have to commit to the Git, and whatever the PR process your team is raising, we are actually practicing same PR process. You can do it, and once it's approved, you can actually just trigger the build, or somebody else can trigger the build, and it will go to the dev or test, so that you can actually test your XML config with the against the customer file. Yeah. I think I will actually provide the Git URL for this, and also I will send out the documentation what I have done so far. You can actually go through it. We will have another session maybe on Monday to talk about the other formats. Okay, and we'll go through other formats as well, and then if you have any additional questions after going through this, we can actually address on Monday.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, before winding up, any questions on so far what we have gone through? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Thanks for your time, Kim, Hong, and Tran. Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thanks.